homes and community, you are creating a resident council. Some other terms of the same type of organization include tenant association or council, resident association, or tenant or resident organization. Resident councils provide a way for you to negotiate with your landlord, Marie, and Opportunity Home. In the case of public housing, that means the housing authority. Work on community concerns and to get to know your neighbors. Through participation, residents can develop and strengthen skills related to communication, leadership, running an organization, and more. As residents in public housing, you have specific rights related to forming and participating in a resident council. Resident councils may actively participate through a working partnership with the housing authority to advise and assist in all aspects of public housing operations. So what this means, there's a few things here, but what this means is, number one, the partnership with the housing authority. So each of you individually may have questions, concerns, complaints about the quality of your housing here at Lewis Chatham. And individually, you may take that to management and let them know. But are you more powerful by yourself or by a group of residents communicating those concerns and complaints to management? As a group, you have more power than you have by yourself. And that collective voice is more powerful than any one individual voice. Working on community concerns, getting to know your neighbors. So creating a culture and a community here at your community. A lot of us, we found this to be true during the COVID pandemic, that all of us, no matter if you live in public housing, no matter if you live in the richest part of town, we all experience grief, sorrow, loss, joy, happiness, but a lot of times we feel alone, very, very alone. And so part of a resident council is to bring residents together to feel less alone, to develop a sense of community, and just that, building a community. So there's that. And then also by participating in the resident council, you learn how to better exercise your voice through leadership, through talking with your neighbors to find out what your neighbors' needs are, and how you can best work with the housing authority to do that. So this next paragraph is directly from the HUD regulations. The role of a resident council is to improve the quality of life and resident satisfaction, and participate in self-help initiatives to enable residents to create a positive living environment for families living in public housing. So at Lewis Chatham, that could mean the resident council could bring in partners from outside of the community to create arts and crafts workshops, or any other kind of recreational activities. More than Kenneth does right now, because we know that our service coordinators are supposed to be doing those things. But the resident council can take leadership in bringing those kind of beneficial activities to you all here at Lewis Chatham. Resident councils may actively participate through a working partnership with the housing authority to advise and assist in all aspects of public housing operations. As a housing authority, as Opportunity Home, we want to give you a voice, and we want to help you give power to your voice. And we want to hear you. We want to hear exactly what your needs are, what your concerns are. That way we can make the changes that we can make in order to improve your quality of life. I know it doesn't always seem like that, but I'm telling you that at least while I'm in this role, that's what we're doing, and I'm sure that that's what we're going to be doing from here on out. We've made a lot of changes, most notably the change of the name of our organization. We took authority out of the title of housing authority, and so now we're Opportunity Home, because we want to be more positive. We don't want to make you feel like we are an authority figure dictating your lives. And so I can tell you that the direction that we're heading as an organization under our current leadership, and I'm sure future leadership, we are heading in the right direction. And right now, I could say that among all of the housing authorities in the United States, we're probably making some of the most positive changes in the direction that to improve the quality of life of all of our residents. So, with that said, without going deeper right now, we want to help you build resident council if you want one. And being elected in a leader, to be sure, a resident council includes all of you. It doesn't include just the members who are elected to lead the resident council. So there are leadership positions within a resident council. They have to get elected to those positions. But every resident at Lewis Chatham is a member of the resident council. Just like you would see it at like a resident association or a homeowners association or anything like that. So when you're electing somebody into a position to help lead the resident council, they are leading by representing the needs of all of you. And so when you are casting your ballot, you have to be sure that whoever is doing that will be representing your needs, because you are the resident council. As an alternative, and we've agreed to do this across all of our public housing portfolio, we have, so number one, you can vote for anyone who is on the ballot. If somebody's not on the ballot, just like you can do in a presidential election, you can write in who you want to be, whether it be president or any other officer position that you're voting for. But the alternative option, if you choose, and I don't recommend it, but you can choose that you don't want a resident council. And so if a majority of votes come back saying, I do not want a resident council, then we will honor that. That doesn't mean we're going to go away forever. We might be here next year encouraging you again to have elections for a resident council. Because people move out, new people move in, and we have to give those new people an opportunity to have a vote if they want to have one. So far, before I move forward, are there any questions? If there are, just raise your hand and I'll call on you.
Okay, I got one right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's running?
Who's running?
Who's running?
I don't know that. There was a nomination committee, so do we know who's running?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Who's running and how, and who's running against them? How many people are running for one position?
Right now, every position is uncontested, which is basically saying nobody is running against them. James Hamilton is running for president. Marlene Phillips for vice president. Ms. De La Rosa, remind me of your for secretary. Treasurer is Sue Cole. Treasurer is Ms. Sue Cole, and parliamentarian is Ms. Villegas. Marianne Villegas.
So, okay. She was first. Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask, why
We have to be recorded.
can we get other people?
We don't have a right to prevent anybody to not record.
Thank you.
I don't want to be recorded.
It's understood, but it's a public space. It's the state of Texas. Yes, ma'am.
Why can't other people, I mean, as a community, other people come around and be a community and run instead of the same people running over and over and over, and give everybody else a chance, because it's the same thing. I haven't been here that long, but it's been the same thing over and over and over. I have tried, but I left the resident council because of gossip and stuff. So let's try to stop that and try something new and bring the community into a family community instead of a gossip community.
Okay. So, one second. So I'd like to respond real quick. So, we admit that we haven't, as an organization, been the best at helping to run resident councils and elections. And so we're trying to get off on the right foot post-COVID. We're out of the COVID closure, and so as a department during the COVID closure, a lot of our resident councils went away, and then as soon as we opened back up, a lot of properties wanted to start elections again. And so we weren't going to prevent any property from starting because we want resident councils. I admit that maybe as an organization we could have done a better job at educating everybody. We did have a big community meeting in May or the beginning of June to explain to everybody who wanted to attend. We had a lot of attendance to explain the purpose of resident councils and everything in these guides. And so, but in this case, without having fixed all of our procedures for how we're going to do it, we just said whoever wants to start elections, you can do it. And so in this case, I don't know about the history about the resident councils here, but whoever can run or whoever wants to run can run and be nominated. And so if you think that the position of the people who are running is a position that's not beneficial for residents here, you use your voice by voting on that ballot. That's what the election process is for.
But I think we should all leave the past behind the past and start a new future.
Right.
Stop blaming everybody for what they did before, if they were in the resident council or they weren't in the resident council. And forget the past. If we're gonna start a new resident council, start a new resident council with whoever.
So that's a campaign position, and after I leave, you can have that conversation with your neighbors all you want. But that's not what this meeting is about right now. I'm just explaining how we got. Yeah, I know.
We have to start all over again,
Right.
and that's your.
But we can't dictate who is going to be on the ballot and who's not going to be on the ballot. There were nominations, as far as
That's
I
what I'm
understand.
saying. We should give everybody a chance.
Everybody does have a chance to be nominated.
It was on the board.
Okay. Just a second. Hey, no, we're gonna take a breath. We're gonna take a breath. Chill.
Mire, vamos a empezar. Disculpe.
You're gonna have to translate.
Que no estoy en contra de que sea ellos, que sea otro.
One or the other.
Pero creo que empezamos mal desde el
We
principio.
started wrong, since the beginning.
De que ya dijeron, este es el grupo que está
This is the
propuesto.
group
Porque aquí
that
no
is-
se hizo nada de
This
eso.
was proposed.
Aquí hay un párrafo que usted no leyó,
Here's a paragraph.
que dice que es importante que la Junta sea representativa de todas
Okay.
las etnias,
The
razas
meeting
y
is
todo eso.
representative.
Y si no es ese grupito que está ahí, es el americano de aquí.
Okay, those are the
¿Verdad? Y
Americans.
cada vez que sale lo mismo un latino, que sale un beso, lo que se forma aquí
The Latins.
es el grupo ese, lo que trae desunión en vez de
There's
eso.
not a lot of union.
Creo que debía hacerse
I think it should be
elegir las personas que van y que sean representativos en ese concilio.
someone that-
Porque enseguida,
represent
llevo
that
7 años aquí,
council.
cada vez que sale un concilio, lo mismo. Si es latino, porque es latino. Si es
Because he's
americano,
Latin,
porque
it's
es
Latin.
americano.
Because it's American, it's American. So
Repito, no estoy en contra que sean ellos,
I'm not against
lo que
them.
sea, pero si van a funcionar, pero que no se pongan el mismo relajito que siempre.
because it's the
Porque
same
aparte de
thing.
eso, nada más se dedican al cafecito
They're just
por la
drinking
mañana.
coffee and in the morning,
pues,
and
y cuando hay un problema aquí, nadie va a plantear el problema.
no one goes out there.
Todo se queda aquí,
you know.
tú vas a plantear un problema a la Junta,
So
no sé, y no puede, nadie va a ir a la
no
reunión
one
con
goes
el
over
presidente,
there for the
cafecito ese.
problem.
Por eso digo, eso que ellos son los que están en la Junta,
If they're the
lo
only
sabe
ones,
él, pero
he
más
knows,
nadie.
but no one else.
Aquí parte desde que el coordinador no habla español.
The coordinator doesn't speak
Ya,
Spanish.
cuando yo voy a hablar con el coordinador,
When I
tengo
go
que estar
and talk
buscando
to
un
the
intérprete. A lo mejor
coordinator,
quiero hablar una cosa
they're
muy
trying to find an
particular. Tengo
interpreter.
que estar buscando a alguien de aquí que vaya a hablar con él.
Someone that,
Partimos ahí.
can
Aquí
interpret.
antes había un coordinador
There was a
que
coordinator.
todos los de la semana habían 3 bingos aquí.
Yeah, the
Ahora aquí-
Americans.
Ah, que vengan con, tienen una tirada de bingo, lotería. Aquí no se hace.
They don't do bingo, lottery.
Y entonces
bingo.
ya ese es el grupo que está. Nadie sabía que ellos eran los.
There was a group and no one
Entonces,
knew.
eso debe darse a conocer. Y como mira, ella misma preguntó
They have to know them.
cuándo es las elecciones,
When
quién
is-
la ha propuesto, porque nadie
When
sabe
are the
nada.
elections? Because no one
Nada
knows.
más que él y el grupo
Only
ese.
him and that group.
Entonces, si empezamos por ahí, entonces sí vamos a empezar mal.
So if we're
Ahora
starting with this,
tiene que
we're
decirse
starting on the
aquí
wrong foot.
para elegir un grupo que sea
So-
representativo de todas las
So we have to
personas que
elect the group that is representative.
Can you tell me what he just said, because I didn't understand a thing he said.
Huh?
I didn't understand her because he's talking over the whole time, so what did he say?
Yeah, no, it's difficult. He's explaining it for everybody who could hear it, but we do have to move on. I don't want to make this about further dividing the residents or identifying where all the fractures are. But
Is that clear?
this leads to a good point that is in this toolkit. So, on page 4, forming a resident council, talking and listening to your neighbors. Informing, so I'm going to start with the top paragraph in bold. Informing a resident council, you'll want to do outreach to engage residents and bring people together. It's on page 4 of Guide 1. So, forming a resident council. This is where it talks about the steps to form a resident council. In forming a resident council, you want to do outreach to engage residents and bring people together. This is the fundamental purpose of a resident council, of having any group of people form an organization together, is you have to bring them together. Again, I am not here for everybody to air their grievances about who is or who is not running or how everything has gone up to this point. But what I'm saying is, when it's time to vote, if you feel like you have not, whoever is on the ballot has not been doing a good job in bringing people together, then you can use your voice by casting your ballot in that way. Can we all agree on that? Okay.
Oh, Mr. Tobar, how come we were not informed that this was gonna happen, that a council was gonna be formed? There's no communication.
And we're working on
And
that.
they place those flyers in spots that we don't even think of looking. Sometimes we're sick, we can't come in here.
So moving forward, we can do a better job of that.
We wanted the questions, so they're gonna
So,
bring it.
but this is one election, and everybody still has a right to vote for this election.
Yes, I'm not
Yeah.
telling
So,
you
but
about
these are concerns that we will work with Kenneth to see how we can do a better job of communicating. So I apologize that this time around, to my understanding, everything was advertised appropriately. But if we're still not doing as good of a job as we should, then we will.
And I spoke to you at the
And so this was because I was told that it wasn't properly advertised, because Spanish speakers were not given any information or misinformed. That is the purpose of this meeting. So before we had the elections, we decided to have this meeting in order to fill in all the gaps where we may have missed it.
You probably decided because everybody was asking for questions and calling,
Exactly.
okay?
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm trying to be responsive to you all using your voice. So again, talk and listen to your neighbors. Talk to your neighbors about forming a resident council, whether they want one. Find out what people's concerns and interests are. So if you feel like the individuals on the ballot are not responsive to your concerns or your interests, then you may use your voice by voting the way you want to. Let's see. What else do we have here? Let's go on to the next guide. Engaging residents and representing resident interests. Engaging residents in a resident council and ensuring that the council represents everyone's interests is an ongoing task. It's important to recognize that people's interests and ability to participate will change over time. That is why we are always going to assist in elections. So it's worth keeping people engaged, inviting them to events, sending out a newsletter, catching them in the hallway, having one-on-one conversations. So as part of the change that Opportunity Home has made, we have adopted 3 organizational values. Compassion, which relates to how we interact with our residents. Excellence, meaning always striving for excellence, knowing that it's an unattainable goal, but we're not going to stop trying to achieve excellence. And equity. So equity, unlike equality, equality means that everybody starts off on an equal playing field. But equity means that those who need some assistance are going to get the assistance so everybody can have equal outcomes. So my coming here after hearing that Spanish speakers weren't given all the information that they needed is my attempts to help with equity, to ensure that everybody gets the same information, to ensure that everybody is treated fairly. So what I encourage all of you is to think about these values when you're going into the election. Do you think that whoever you vote for, or if you vote for a resident council, are you going to get individuals who represent compassion, equity, and excellence? And those individuals are allowed to campaign to convince you that they do represent these values. If you are not persuaded, you may vote however you may choose. There are other benefits to a resident council that are not included. Well, they are in here, but I'm not covering them. I'm not going to read them. But the biggest benefit of a resident council is that a resident council is entitled to what's called tenant participation funds, or DPUY, meaning for every occupied unit in Lewis Chatham, that, what is it? Is it $10? $15? 15? That the resident council is entitled to $15 for every unit in Lewis Chatham. And then the resident council can use those funds to set up events, parties, to bring in partners, arts and crafts events, recreational activities, all of that kind of stuff. And so while we try to do that as an organization already, the resident council can use those funds however they wish, as long as it provides some benefit to all the residents here.
If I was to oppose it, would they give me the 15?
So no. No. Yeah. Good try. Because
It's only right.
so that's the thing, is that for every so there are going to be resident councils at as many properties as we can get them at, but there's going to be another resident association above them that's going to still receive the funds and distribute them
If I opposed it, then they would still get my $15 to spend however they want
to benefit the residents at Lewis Chatham. So somebody's going to be responsible for using those dollars. Do you want it to be residents from here or residents from other public houses?
I have a problem with going
Yeah. So, but I'm saying there's one. Take a breath. All right. We just need it to be chill in here, right? Yes. All right. Yeah, I know. Hey, now it's you. Now it's you. It's okay. No, hey, we all have our things. All right. So if everybody can just quiet down for just 1 second. Quiet. I know. Quiet down for 1 second. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that money is given, and then whatever money the council makes for the unit, for the apartment.
Right.
Okay. Or will they be public viewing of those records?
Yes.
The money that is spent?
Yes. Yeah. So allow me to clarify some myths about the resident council. Number one, it shouldn't be a popularity contest, because when an election turns into a popularity contest, you get some pretty bad leaders who are elected in office. And so you really need to think about who is going to represent your interests the most, who is going to bring the most value, because otherwise, that money that the resident council here would receive is going to go to other public housing residents, who may then decide how to use those dollars for the residents here at Lewis Chatham. So that is, to me, the biggest benefit of having a resident council. Any questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
Well, it's not about that. I just want to know, when a person wants to run, what type of character are they supposed to have?
That's for you to decide. But myth number 2. Anyone who is in a leadership position of the resident council does not have power over you. They represent the interests of the residents of Lewis Chatham. So, in essence, you are their boss. You've elected them into office to represent your interests, but they do not wield any power or control over you or your life.
They're not able to tell her, well, you should be doing this, or you should do this, telling the residents how to go about certain things.
No, you should be living your life, as long as you're not breaking any lease violations, then nobody is in control over you.
I guess what I meant, like for example, in my case, if I were to run and I had police reports or I had this and that, would that disqualify me?
So, if you are in good standing, meaning that you don't have any lease violations, I think that's what it is, right, Samantha? Yeah.
But I'm talking about
If you're alluding to any one individual, I don't want to go there. But if you don't have any lease violations, you can run. You're eligible.
But if you have a police record, you can still run.
If you don't have a lease violation, you can run.
that's all he's gonna answer. That's all he's gonna answer.
But that's my response. So,
They can maybe get a lease violation if you want to run.
It's criminal or violent.
criminal or violent lease violation. So you can have a lease violation, but you can't have a criminal or violent lease violation.
Okay.
All right. So, without trying to disparage anybody who is running for election, without talking about the history of how Lewis Chatham's never been good at resident councils, without any of that, with anything that I've talked about regarding the benefits of having a resident council, because again, you guys can campaign and talk amongst yourselves all you want to convince your neighbors to vote this way or that way. That is not why I'm here today. With all of this information that has been provided to you, are there any questions about the benefits of a resident council?
Okay, if a committee shows that, what I've understood is that we don't go to the office for anything, we go to the council for any type of complaint that's happened.
So,
I thought the office was the one who was in charge.
so it depends on the issue. Like what kind of issue are you talking about?
Like I have a neighbor to force up. He's throwing water down, they've already talked to him. I go out in the morning and I hear wet,
So individually, yes. If that's happening, go to management.
I've done it 4 or 5 times, and he still does it the day before yesterday, he did it.
Okay, well, we can talk about that separately.
That works here,
Okay, so after, I'm sure,
No, we're
Maria and her
talking
team are
for
working.
Rick today.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, so that's on an individual, of course, that's something that you want to report to management immediately.
Management, not council.
But if, for example, you wanted to bring this issue to the resident council of a problem that you're having, maybe management's not being as responsive as you like, as a partner of management, the resident council can advocate on your
I
behalf.
thought somehow we just step in if office is managed by me.
It ought to be. I don't know all the specifics of what's happening here, but I'm saying that you can go straight directly to management, but if you have an issue with management, go to the resident council, and the resident council and management should be meeting to figure those issues
I
out.
would prefer to go to office.
Yeah.
But that's up to you. Nobody runs your life. Yes, ma'am.
If I get elected,
if we all get elected and none of them are available, they can always bring their concerns to one of us or me or
Okay.
anyone, and we can, you know.
I hear you, they heard you, but we're not campaigning here today.
No, no.
Yeah, that sounds, it was pretty close to campaigning.
No, I'm just saying,
Okay.
you know, because there are big concerns.
Yeah.
You know, and it's,
I hear you. But, and that's the thing, is that if you guys want to hold a campaign meeting separately, you guys can work that out. But I just want to keep the division as low as possible. And so remember, while you may not be 100% satisfied with the way nominations were collected and the names that will be on the ballot, I encourage you to, if you want to write in a name, you can do that. You can get with all your neighbors and agree, if you want, on somebody whose name to write in to challenge the person whose name is on the ballot. Or, oh, I'm sorry. Or, if you want, there's going to be the box on the ballot, as there will be at all housing authority elections, that says, I don't want a resident council. Yes, ma'am.
What are the rules for the committee?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I was gonna say,
Oh, she already asked. Can I just answer it? What are the rules for the committees? So,
No, the rule I'm talking about, who is in control of the money collected? Does the council stay with it, or is Kenneth supposed to hold it?
So that's something that we're currently building out the process for. But the thing is that the process that we had before, where each resident council had its own bank accounts, is impossible. Because whenever somebody leaves the resident council, they all have to go to the bank together and sign over, and it just doesn't work.
Because you're talking about making the records public.
Yeah.
In other words, we can see what the.
Because the thing is, we'll have how much the resident council is entitled to, how much of those funds were distributed to the resident council, and for what purpose.
Like everybody gets a copy, or no?
We'll find an equitable way to post that for everybody. And so, what happens once there is a resident council, you have to agree on bylaws. And the bylaws dictate how the resident council operates. So, and then that'll have all the rules for how everything. But the resident council, meaning every member, will be allowed to vote on how those bylaws, because you are the resident council. The people in the leadership positions in the resident council, although they're called leadership positions, really they're just the ones that do all the work, the paperwork. Yes.
okay, I was saying, a lot of people have been saying that not enough notification was given about the nominations. Is there any way that we can just stop everything and start anew? So people will have the chance to run?
Mr. Tobar?
What?
Yes.
Could you answer that, please?
Oh, are you trying to aha me? Oh, Mr. Hamilton, you trying to aha me? Are you trying to Adrian Lopez me? No, not at all.
That's the word.
No. Because the thing is, and the reason why I'm staying absolutely neutral here is because No. The thing is that Mr. Hamilton,
inside joke, right?
No. The thing is, Mr. Hamilton is very sensitive to what has occurred here in the past, and he thinks that.
I'm very sensitive.
I know. But I know. If I can continue, real quick. Just like you all are, and so I've been hearing it from both sides. And I have stayed absolutely neutral, and Mr. Hamilton is testing my neutrality. And so I guarantee you that neither myself, Mr. Kenneth, Miss Samantha, Miss Marie, our workload is so heavy with stuff that we need to do just to keep this stuff running that we have no interest in taking sides either way.
Because right away, there's people that come up that were racist. Everybody is racist.
So that is not my
They always
concern.
come up with that excuse.
That is not my concern. If there is any evidence of racial harassment that amounts to a lease violation, it is my concern. Beyond that, that is between you all. Saha is not here to dictate how you all relate to each other as neighbors.
Okay, the question, going back to the question I asked you and he started talking to you.
Yeah. Right.
What is the answer? Can
So-
we start fresh and start the nomination all over?
So,
Since a lot of
is
people
there
were-
reason to believe that the nomination process was not done appropriately? Because from what I understand, no, okay. Get chill. All right. So after the nomination process began, or the nomination committee was formed, I was given a call by other residents, from what I understand, from the other side, and then we said anybody can collect nominations. And so that information was given out to everyone. Anybody can collect nominations.
No, sir. I was not aware of it.
When was this?
Until the day before.
When was this?
Who was it that we told it to?
Apparently, Mr. Kenneth
It was
said that
me.
it was,
It was
yeah,
Was the only one that.
Okay.
he said, but towards the end.
Okay.
All it said was,
Alright.
okay,
So
got it.
what person did it?
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
What,
It was like
what I received
between
as
you and
instructions,
James, I think. That's all it was. So,
no, it
we had a
began,
discussion.
it began as between my assistant manager, my manager, and myself, and obviously keeping Mr. Joel in the loop, which was, we had to make an announcement, we had to make a posting that there was going to be nominations, or that the resident council was gonna happen again, essentially. And so there was something posted on the community room. There was a posting saying that there was going to be a committee, and the committee was gonna be was gonna undertake the task of collecting nominations. And so then, the committee was comprised of, and I kept rephrasing this, for people that were approaching me, they were like, the committee, what is going on? We haven't voted on anything. I said, no, the committee is essentially just volunteers that have come forth to say, okay, I'm interested in resident council, how can we begin this? So that was Mr. Hamilton, Ms. Marlene Phillips, Sue Cole, Ms. Marianne Villegas, and Alex.
But I canceled. Then Lisa came.
No, I'm just saying, before you got to that part, we're talking about what then got posted by the mailboxes in basically a very open common area were those nomination slips. And so that was clearly, I think, written for everybody to see. These are in a sleeve for anybody to take, that this is the nomination slip, so you could nominate anybody you wanted to. And so that went on for 30 days.
Wasn't there one posted
Okay,
right
one
by the mailbox?
person at a time. One person at a time. Hey, wait, sir, everybody. You feel me? All right, one person at a time, raise your hand, because from my understanding, it was posted, everyone, even if it was posted in a way that you didn't like or didn't think that everybody had the opportunity, it was posted in the community room. Marie?
I actually posted,
Marie?
I posted over here a whole bunch and on every floor. So it just wasn't in one area, I posted on every single floor. It was on a Friday, a late Friday that I did it. And Mr. Hamilton saw me do it.
Wouldn't it be best just to, with all these complaints that they were notified and stuff, just put them on the doors and start fresh with the nomination?
And I know that's your question, and that's what I think we're getting to.
Yeah.
But I'm still on the part where, and I just want to, reiterate, Marie saying it got posted in all the common areas that everybody traffics. The bulletin boards on the floors, the common area, and as it picked up and it gained a little bit of traction to say this is actually happening, those sleeves were posted by the mailboxes. And I think the mailboxes have always been regarded as, you're picking up your mail, if you're gonna see something, it's gonna be seen there. Now, to go and address what Ms. Luna's saying, I think Mr. Tobar brought it up, and he said, look, the ballot that's gonna be generated for the actual vote is gonna have a line that says, you now can nominate whoever you want, just like on any election. You wanna write anybody's name, any neighbor, as Mr. Tobar has explained, if you want to have discussions with your neighbors and say, you know what, I didn't get a chance to get nominated, I am, after all these discussions, thinking about it, then I'm advocating for me or my neighbor, yeah, let's nominate them when it's time to vote, put their name down. So in essence, you circumvented having to go and restart, brand new. You have circumvented that, and now you can put a name that you want, that you don't see on the ballot. And furthermore, just to reiterate what Joel's saying, you're gonna see a no vote on there too. So you've got two good options available to you. You're gonna be able to put the name you want, or you're gonna be able to say no vote, or you're gonna vote for the people that are on the ballot that already, that we
The
talked about.
person that didn't run,
Yeah.
then we put his name or her name on the ballot. Will they be considered to be accepted as a committee?
If they get more votes than anybody else.
Okay.
And if they want to, they may not want to. All right, did you have your hand up, sir?
Yeah, how come they wanted to return those papers to Hamilton?
Exactly, that was my question. A lot of people didn't want to
They
get the
say the
paperwork.
paper, they sent it to, return it to Hamilton Services.
Why to him?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
Yeah, go ahead.
That had an easy explanation as well. Again, Mr. Hamilton had volunteered, again, because the committee for resident council was a volunteer effort to say, we're a committee, we just want to put the word out that there's gonna be a vote, and this is the procedure. Nominations. I vote to receive the nominations. And likewise, it's not feasible to only have one person as part of a committee. That doesn't make any sense. So then he said, Marlene, can you assist me? He did. Eventually, Alice chimed in and said, I'll be part of the committee, and anybody that wants to write down their nomination for whatever office, I'll take the nomination. Yeah, so that's all it was. It was just a volunteer effort to say, anybody that wants to nominate and write down a name, I'll take those and hold on to them. And then 30 days from now, I'm gonna present them all together. So that day that we all got together in a committee, again, just volunteer effort, said, let's all bring them together and read them out loud. So we did, and we read them out loud. And again, still, it's not a resident council at that moment, it's just a committee, which are just a group of volunteers that said, let's just take nominations and read them out loud.
So, okay, I have a question. So why wasn't that brought into everybody's attention?
So,
Not just going around, oh, I'm gonna run for president, that's it, nobody's gonna run against me.
so again, everything was posted appropriately. And so
He's talking about it wasn't.
So if in the future, if we need to do even more than what we've done, which we feel like we did what was necessary to get the word out there to everybody.
Because some people can't read. And some people, they're wheelchair, they can't get up to read. So, it's just like she said.
So we've agreed that because of the sensitivity of this election and also just due to, our staffing and what we're available to do, that we're probably on the day of the election going to go door to door and door knock to ensure that we get as many votes as possible from everybody.
And that's good because a lot of people can't come down.
Majority
Right.
doesn't come.
So, again, we are learning as we go, but
We're learning it with you learning
right.
it.
So, but we feel like what was done here does not fall to the level where we need to redo everything all over again. So that's why we're here today, which we hadn't even planned on doing. But I guarantee you that we are not in favor of anybody whatsoever. That is completely amongst you all.
Mr. Tobar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There was to be a council, can there be a ethics committee?
As a resident council, you can vote.
An oversight ethics committee, so that people that think that they're in power really aren't that in power.
Right. So, as a resident council, meaning everybody, the residents who are part of the resident council, that you can dictate that, put that to a vote. Again, the representatives of the resident council are here to represent the needs of the residents, not to tell you, no, we're not going to do that. Yes, sir.
Okay, what goes to all the problem, how come that just don't be no council, that's it?
You can vote no council if you want. That's a campaign position. If you want to, if you want to pass out flyers that say, vote for Trump for the president council, you can do that. You can say vote for this person. You can say no resident council. Anybody can campaign for any position. You can convince your neighbors whatever you want to do.
Go to door and read what we want, liars.
Well, take it up with Marie.
Why not? You're in charge right now.
Yeah, but because I allow my folks to run their properties. She knows more about property
Okay, so
management.
that's how come we don't need a resident council, because I'd rather go to her and get my ass all the time.
No, I mean about passing out flyers door to door. I don't know what the policies are.
Well, thank you for answering all my
Yeah.
questions.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I
No,
understand.
hey, and I know that these conversations, go off the rails sometimes. I'm very sorry if you feel like that was an inside joke. It wasn't. It wasn't. Okay, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. But, it's been going both ways for the past month.
Not that bad.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions about resident councils, about the election that's coming up? The election? So to be decided, it's gonna be coming soon. So.
So they're gonna put it in the doors and everything.
What's that?
When the election is.
We're gonna go door to door. Yeah, so we're gonna notify everybody soon of the election. Because the thing is that we're having a lot of turnover with staff. We're lucky to have Kenneth, we're lucky to have Shane, because right now, it's hard to hire anybody or to keep anybody employed.
No, you're not gonna say, oh, no, because how much and they're gonna do this.
No, we're not gonna say anything. Our job is to administer fair elections.